I will be dwelling on the recent resolution by the Rivers State House of Assembly regarding the appointment of commissioners and the ripple effects it may have on Nyesom Wike's influence as political godfather in the Rivers State. That is exactly my concern as far as Nigerian politics is involved in this case. To understand the significance of the recent developments, one must recall a prolonged crisis in Rivers State politics that has pitted Governor Sim Fubara against a faction of the State House of Assembly widely seen as loyal to Wike. The tensions cumulated in the emergency rule being declared in Rivers in March 2025, during which Governor Fubara, his deputy, the Assembly were suspended, and an interim administrator, in the person of Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, retired, was appointed by the President to govern the state. When the emergency rule was lifted in September 2025, the Rivers State Assembly reconvened and immediately passed a set of resolutions. And among these resolutions was a demand that Governor Fubara submit a list of commissioner nominees for screening and to commence a fresh appropriation bill for the remainder of the year. But let us listen to what the State House Assembly said in this video, and I'll be right back.
River State, Sir Sinilai Fubara, GSSRS, to forward the list of his nominees for appointment as commissioners into the State Executive Council in line with the party and the constitutional provision. Having said that, let me align myself with prayer 7.
Shortly afterward, Fubara relieved all commissioners and public officers affected by a pro-Supreme Court judgment. Thus, the recent resolution of commissioners refers to the Assembly's reassertion of its constitutional role in approving executive appointees as part of a broader reset of the Rivers political machinery after months of suspension and paralysis, because they need to take the power back to themselves and show that they are fully on ground. And during the resumed plenary in mid-September this year, that's 2025, the Assembly adopted 6 key resolutions, of which the following are germane to commissioners and executive appointments. 1. Demand for commissioner nominee list. The Assembly resolved that Governor Fubara should submit names of commissioner nominees to the House for screening and confirmation. That was the first step they took so far. And then the second step is appropriation bill and budget resumption. The House also resolved that Fubara must present a revised appropriation law covering the remaining period of the year, thereby restoring the financial operations of government in the state. And then the third part of it is oversight of emergency rule expenditures. Recognizing that many contracts, awards, spending decisions, and obligations were made during the 6 months of emergency rule. That is when the legislature was suspended. The House resolved to investigate whatever activity that transpired with respect to the Consolidated Revenue Fund, contract awards, and other spending within that period in review. And then the fourth aspect, adherence to peace accord and constitutional norms. The Assembly committed itself to abiding by the terms of the peace parley that had mediated the earlier conflict and pledged to act in accordance with the Constitution. Fifth, review of outdated laws and legislative agenda. It also expressed intent to revisit obsolete statutes and chart a legislative agenda for the remainder of its term for this year. And then by pressing for the submission of commissioner nominees, the Assembly is reasserting a classic check against executive overreach. Its insistence on accountability for what occurred during the emergency period signals the desire to avoid a repeat of unchecked executive action. No one will want to walk the road twice. And what are the implications of all this to Wike's godfather role in the state? Wike has long been seen as a dominant political actor in Rivers State, even after exiting the governorship to take on national roles as the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. Anyway, and during his tenure and afterward, Wike cultivated a network of loyalists and wielded significant influence over appointments, party structures, and legislative alignment. However, the recent assembly resolutions and the removal of some commissioners raised several challenges and opportunities to Wike's patronage leverage. Below are possible implications. One, and I'm listing them, dilution of Wike's spoils system leverage. As it is, core appointments or appointing commissioners is a powerful tool of patronage. We know it. Whoever secures control over nominations wields influence over access to executive resources, ministries, and contracts. By asserting the power of the legislature over those appointments, the Assembly may reduce the extent of which Wike's loyalists can be installed unilaterally by the governor or by Wike's back channels. If Fubara adheres to a more autonomous nominee list, Wike may find that his ability to reward loyalists is constrained by the need for legislative approval and oversight. And the second part of it is a test of Wike Fubara truth. The truth they've just signed, it can be a test. In the first of the Rivers crisis, there was a peace parley purportedly brokered in which Fubara is said to have made certain concessions to the Wike camp. For example, control over local government chairperson installations in the 23 local government areas. That was part of it. The resolution demanding commissioner nominees puts that truth to the test. Is he going to honor it? That's what they want to know. Will Fubara submit names agreeable to Wike's camp? If he insists, he may revive rifts. If he offers nominations that are seen as too favorable to Wike's interests, Fubara may be viewed as still beholden to Wike, undermining his claims of independence. That is it. And then the third aspect, legislative gatekeeping a new alliance. With a reactivated House of Assembly, the legislature becomes a goat or a gatekeeper. Some lawmakers may align more closely with Fubara's vision and seek to assert independence from Wike's influence, especially if they feel marginalized. Over time, new alliances might form that tilt away from Wike's dominance. Additionally, the House resolution to probe expenditures during the emergency may target projects and contracts awarded under Wike's influence or by Wike-aligned actors, potentially exposing weaknesses or past abuses on the process. Then the fourth part of it is political narrative or legitimacy. Wike has quickly denied that he sought to impose commissioners on Fubara. In September 2025, he stated he would not interfere in Fubara's appointment. It's there in the public domain. Watch the video here. I'm even dropping the video so that you can watch what he said on that interview.
I know what people are looking for. What about the composition of to the state cabinet? The agreement. Purely to the governor. Purely to the governor. No input from you? I cannot go and impose anything on the governor. Why would I impose anything on the governor? Okay, I assuming. I go to the governor, I want this. He said no. So did the state will collapse? Are you saying you are not going to suggest to him commissioners in that cabinet? I will not. You don't have any candidate? I have no candidate and I will not. Even if the governor comes to me now, I say, look, well, I agree we are going to work together, which is natural. I say, look, there's no way you tell me not. I say, look, I give a free hand. You know what you want for the state. All I will want to say, I know what I did and what I've done to keep this state to this level. Don't drop it. Move ahead. As I speak to you, I left the state to where we can compete favorably with Lagos. I'm not challenging anybody. And that has been my own intention.
But the optics matter. If the legislative resolutions succeed in positioning the House as a bulwark against undue influence, Wike may find his image as a behind-the-scenes power broker increasingly contested. That could affect his broader national posture, especially given his profile beyond River State. And then opportunity for recalibration or decline. In politics, power is not static. Wike may view this moment as one of recalibration. If he still commands loyalty and has the capacity to negotiate, he might seek to maintain indirect influence without being seen as overbearing. But on the other hand, the institutional assertion by the legislature and governor's office will gradually marginalize his direct influence, especially as new power nodes emerge. If Wike loses the capacity to deliver nominations or sway key appointments, his status as godfather in Rivers may gradually fade, especially as future aspirants and office holders cultivate their own independent basis. That is certain. Challenges and uncertainties, because for whatever thing that happens, there must be some challenges in the process of resolution. Why are all these bold? Several practical constraints may limit their disruptive potential. And what are those challenges that may constrain the smooth operation of the process? Governors' discretion and forgeback. Fubara constrains the constitutional prerogative, retains the constitutional prerogative to propose commissioner nominees. He could use delays, last-minute changes, or legal technicalities to blunt the assembly's pressure. In the absence of unity in the House, he may pick factions favorable to him over Wike's camp. That is certain. Legislative cohesion. The House may be internally divided. Some members may remain loyal to Wike or privately align with him. The success of these resolutions depends on whether the House acts as a unified front or fractures under pressure. It's certain. And then legal and constitutional constraints. Some aspect of the probe into emergency expenditures may be contested in court. Questions of retroactivity, immunity of certain acts, and the validity of emergency rule decisions may complicate oversight. And then nomination and compromise. In practice, much political power is wielded through negotiation. Wike and Fubara might reach behind the scenes compromises on commissioner slots, creating safe positions for Wike's loyalists. Can never be settled of that. Public sentiment and media pressure is another point. If the assembly or media highlight abuses of favoritism, public pressure could push Fubara and Wike to conform to more transparent norms. Conversely, allegations of legislative overreach could also backfire if framed as obstructionism. Nobody want to work into that. And in conclusion, let me just conclude. In conclusion, the recent resolutions by the Rivers State House of Assembly, particularly the demand for commissioner nominees and oversight of emergency rule expenditures, mark a significant moment in the rebalancing of power in Rivers politics. For Wike, this development was both a test and potential turning points. His traditional influence as Godfather may be checked by the resurgence of institutional assertiveness. If he adapts by working through institutions, cultivating new alliances, or conceding some symbolic control, he may retain a meaningful role. But if he insists on dominance without regard for legislative processes and emerging power centers, his grip on Rivers politics may begin to slip. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel for more.